Good evening, everybody. How you doing? How you been? Welcome back to another RadioWis episode. It's me, Rando. How you doing? How you been? Did I ask that already? Oh well. Hi, everybody. What happened? What happened? This was supposed to be a monthly affair. And yet, the last episode was 7 months ago. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. A lot happened. And, the worst part is that I said in the last episode that I'd like for things to be more consistent. Oh, my God. I remember when I said that, I remember thinking, oh man, am I gonna break this? Am I lying again? Because that was not the first time I said something about wanting to be more consistent, and yet here we are. God damn it. God damn it, there's a deep-rooted issue somewhere, and I gotta find out what it is. But, to quickly explain what happened. Back in December, I remember things were going pretty smoothly back then. I think when I made the last RadioWis episode, I was in the middle of animating the what do you call it? The Puss Plush animation. I think it was the last one. The Puss Plush, the final, or something like that. Puss Plush, the end. It's the one with the horrendously malformed, the Rando and Puss, and Lou in her nightmare, if that's what you think it was. So, and I remember being confident that I would be able to finish that particular animation in January. In fact, when I created the Puss Plush series, Puss Plush, was it the glow? Yeah, Puss Plush, the glow, that's what it was. Yeah, the glowing Puss Plush. It started with a quick joke that, the plush looked like an egg, and so I thought maybe, I could just do a really cheap cut of the egg turning into the Puss Plush, and that expanded into the mini series that I made. And I think I got too ambitious with the final animation, which I wanted to be a sort of conclusion to the mini series. But I was expecting that animation to be done by January, if not late December. And unfortunately, I only got it uploaded, I think it was in late April. Oh my God, what happened? It's something that has been on my mind. I guess ever since the video went up, ever since the animation went up. And I think what happened was it was just a culmination of so many different things happening at once, yet each of these things were so minor that they did not seem like major obstacles as they were happening. And what I mean is, if you guys recall, and if you don't, that's fine, but I was taking my driver's license and my motorcycle license at the same time. And in January, I had the motorcycle test, but unfortunately, I failed in January. And then the car license test was in March. And so, especially for those 3 months, January, February, and March, I remember my weekly schedule being completely insane. It was twice a week for motorcycle lessons, twice a week for car lessons, and then the problem was that each of these lessons, the school that I go to learn, is about an hour away from where I live. So it's an hour out and an hour back, and then each lesson's like 90 minutes. And so it's a total of, 3.5, 4 hours outside, and the lessons were never consistent. So my week looked something like Monday car lessons in the morning, 9 a.m. You're done at, you got to reach there, you got to wake up at 7:30, reach there by 8:45, and you're done with the lesson by 10:30. And by the time you get home, it's 12 p.m. And then, you start working at around 12:30, maybe 1, and then, go to the gym. And then Tuesday, you got motorcycle lessons, and that starts at like maybe 2 p.m. And then, because it starts at 2 p.m., you got to stop working at 1 p.m. And then by the time you come back, it's about 4, maybe 5 p.m. And by then, you got to start preparing for dinner. And so a lot of and then the process repeats itself about 4 times a week, basically. And so every week I found myself working on animations and the MMO series for was it maybe less than, if I were to calculate the total amount of hours that I actually worked on projects, it's like less than 3 hours a day before I had to call it a day, because I either had to leave to go for a lesson, or I'd just be too tired and too exhausted. And I remember, especially towards March, I ramped up the number of lessons that I wanted to attend, because the tests were coming, and I already failed the motorcycle license back in January, and I did not want to. I did not want to fail again, because if I were to fail the tests in March for both motorcycle and car, the next available test would have been like last week. And so it's an insane amount of waiting time, and that really stressed me out. And so I was just doubling down on the number of lessons and revisions that I took every week while I was working on the animation and while I was working on the MMO series. I got sick so many times. I remember, I think it was in February, I got sick like every week because of how exhausted and tired I was. But I remember telling myself, no, you just got to do it once. Just make sure to pass in March, and then that's it. You'll never have to do this ever again, at least not for car, because here in my country of Singapore, you only need to take the car licenses once. But for motorcycle licenses, we got different tiers. I'm not sure if it's the same where you're from, but we have... The tiering system allows you to take different amounts of bike sizes. I guess that's how you describe it. The lowest tier allows you to get a bike up to 200 cc's. The I guess quote unquote intermediate license gets you a bike up to 400 cc's, and then the advanced license gets you 400 cc's and above. But you're only able to take the beginner license if it's your first time, and you're only eligible for the intermediate license a year after, and the advanced license a year after that. And so I did not want to fail in March, is what I'm trying to say. And so I just sucked it up, just took lessons 4 to 5 times a week, coming back week tired, exhausted, fatigued, and not spending as much time as I wanted to working on animations or the MMO series. And I guess I was pulling my hair out for the first 3 months. And I did want to make a RadioWis episode back in January. But I remember thinking, like, no, I'll just wait till February to do it, because nothing much really happened in January except working on the MMO series and the animation and getting my ass handed to me in the motorcycle test that I failed. And so maybe I'll wait until February and maybe something more interesting will happen. But what happened in February was the same thing, basically the same schedule. And then just on top of that, being extra exhausted because of the amount of times that I had to leave and come back. And then in March it was the same thing. And so I thought to myself, man, this sucks. Not only do I not have anything to say or talk about in the RadioWis episodes, but I also do not feel the mental strength to make one, despite it just being me speaking to a microphone for like an hour. I was just so tired and exhausted from the way things were in the earlier 3 months of the year. And it was after that was when, after I passed the car license, right? I think the animation for the car license came out in like April, despite passing in, I think it was in mid-March or something. And after passing the car license and the motorbike license, that was when I could finally start focusing on properly animating the Puss Plush The Glow animation, the final episode, which came out, I think it was perhaps maybe late March, maybe early April, I can't really remember, but it was around that period of time. And the timing for that was just fantastic as well, because 3 weeks after that, the Lou plush was supposed to be released. God damn it, I swear to God. So, what's the whole point of me telling you this story? Basically, there was a plan. There was a plan that I had came up with and a schedule that I wanted to stick to, and which I successfully stuck with till the end of last year. And then, unfortunately, it's just I guess I got a little overambitious with the animation. The Puss Plush The Glow final animation. And, I overestimated my capabilities of going for motorcycle and car licenses at the same time while trying to work on an animation, while trying to make the MMO series. And so the original plan was to, after making the Pokemon animation, I think it was the Lanoon Smash one, I was supposed to promote the Puss Plush the Glow plush with the, what do you call it, for the campaign that was happening at the time. And after that, I was supposed to make the, what was the animation that was supposed to come out after that? There was supposed to be a couple more animations, basically. And then, by then, I would have hoped to start animating the Lou plush animation early. And so there was this perfect plan of creating a merch-related animation, which is the Puss Plush Glow edition, and then maybe 2 or 3 RadioWis animations, and then the Lou plush animation, and then other animations as well. So there was this nice flow of RadioWis content that I had thought up of releasing this year. And that all just went in the trash when I got too ambitious with the final animation for the Puss Plush Glow campaign. I swear to God. And not only that, the YouTube animation, the announcement that I was part of the YouTube partner program, that was supposed to come out in December last year too. Or at least in the latest, earlier this year, around maybe late January. Right after I posted the Puss Plush Glow final animation. That was the supposed schedule, but I guess I just did not see myself being so exhausted, which it's pretty stupid. It's pretty dumb when I look back at it now. What was I thinking, going for so many things at once, and only how much work could I have expected myself to do every day, every week, if I had to exert myself as much as I did. And I remember even working on the weekends. I had to, I guess you could say I'm thinking, did I even touch a game in the past 6 months? Because I know for sure that I worked nonstop, including the weekends. And there were a few times, and I think supporters on RadioWis.com and Fanbox can confirm this. There were times that I could not deliver the updates that were due for supporters because I got sick. Because I was working even on the weekends for so long. I was just so desperate to get shit done that I could not bear with myself taking a break. I don't know. I guess you could say, you've worked too hard when taking a break feels like a sin. If there's anyone out there who's working your ass off and you find yourself thinking that you are committing a crime by giving yourself a break and taking some time off, that is a sign that you've probably pushed yourself too hard and you're probably on the verge of burning out, which I suspect I nearly did, if not actually did burn out in, I guess it was late June, I guess. Right, I forgot to mention that I'm currently actually on a break right now. For the past couple of weeks, I decided to take the first 2 weeks of July off to properly recuperate and rest, from just constantly working nonstop. And, because the YouTube partner program video and the animation that came out before it, what was that? Was it the car animation? I think it was the car animation. Yeah, those two took a lot longer to produce. Oh, no. It was the YouTube partner program animation and the latest chapter of the We Live in an MMO webcomic series. Those two were supposed to be released by the end of May, but, it was only towards the end of June that they got released. And so I just kept thinking to myself, why am I still taking so long? And why am I still having trouble producing these things when I already have the time with me, when time is now on my side, when I have no other commitments besides the projects that I was supposed to work on? And that's when I realized, maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm just still a little overworked from the past 6 months. And so even though I have the time, I may not have the mental capacity to continue working consistently. Probably because I needed a break, which is why I decided, maybe it's a good time to take like a couple of weeks off. And, I got to be honest, things have been good, I forgot how important it is to give yourself some breathing room, an opportunity to basically touch grass. Just don't do anything work-related, have a change of pace in life. And so this past couple of weeks, I've been doing things that I've been putting off for a long while. So, things like clearing out the storeroom for the family to use properly, because, we've been collecting boxes for like past 5 years. So I managed to clean the storeroom, finally got the time to fix some furniture, varnish some wood. I also bought a secondhand old bike for myself. But unfortunately, I am the 9th or 8th owner of the bike. And by bike, I mean motorcycle. Sorry, I'll say motorcycle from now on, just so people don't get confused with it being a bicycle. And so after I failed the first motorcycle test in January, I actually went bike hunting in December because I was just so excited to pass my motorcycle license that I found a seller selling this. I don't think you could call it a vintage bike, but it is from like 2003 or 4. It's a Honda Phantom 200cc. It's specifically the Thai manufactured version that's really popular in Southeast Asia. It's a cruiser bike from Honda, and it's in our standards, it's a really old bike, because in Singapore you don't get to keep your vehicle forever once you buy it. You have to buy permission from the government. Not buy, but you have to pay the government to get permission to ride your vehicle on the roads of up to a maximum of 10 years. And you got to renew this permission every 10 years. Or you can buy a 5-year version, but after that you got to scrap the vehicle, be it a motorcycle or a car. There's a whole list of conditions that I won't get into regarding this permission, but because it might take a little too long. But just know that these permissions from the government are not cheap. They're called the Certificate of Expiry, abbreviated as the COE. And they're not cheap because the government controls the number of vehicles that can be on the roads at any time in our country, because we're just so small, or at least that's the reason they use. But these permissions can go at the highest they've ever been was earlier this year at about $100,000. And once again, it's $100,000 just to get permission from the government to drive your vehicle on the roads for a car. And that is excluding the price of the car. Whereas for motorcycles, at the time, when I found the bike when I found the Honda Phantom, it was $10,000 for 10 years. And I couldn't afford that shit. And so I got the bike itself was not expensive. The bike itself was relatively cheap because it's not really a coveted bike. I think it was like $300 or something like that. But the certificate of expiry that I had to purchase for the bike was really, really, that's the killer. I think it was like $5,000 in local currency, so maybe that's like $3,500 to get permission from the government to ride my motorcycle for the next 5 years, which is a shame. It looks like a great bike, in my opinion. And the point that I'm trying to make, sorry for the tangent, but the point that I was trying to make is, I've been putting off the bike for the past few months. And I am I believe I am the 9th owner of the motorcycle. And so there are a lot of like, nuts and bolts that are rusty and they need to be replaced. There's a lot of parts that need to be touched up. I bought like a cheap spray can, just fixed up the patches of paint that peeled off, got rid of like old accessories like saddlebags that were all torn up. It's been a nice change of pace fixing the bike, and I get the love that some bike enthusiasts have for their motorcycles, their machines, because there is this sense of satisfaction as you fix up an old machine, something that you can call your own. It's not the best machine, it's not the fastest machine, but it's my machine. Am I making sense? And this has been a real nice therapy session for me, I guess. I'm actually able to fix something and see the results of my efforts in a much faster time frame as compared to the 5-month animation that I spent so much time and effort trying to make. And it's a healthy hobby, I guess, fixing up old things, because you feel like you're accomplishing something whenever you get like these little objectives done, like replacing screws or sanding out the rust, or painting out chipped paint, repainting chipped areas of the paint. You get to see progress in real time, and if you're struggling to feel like you're accomplishing much, I guess maybe try breaking down your objectives, make them small, make them doable. So doable that even an infant could do it, but maybe that's the level of difficulty you need right now, just so that you can motivate yourself to accomplish something bigger next time. Because it's been nice. It's been nice to take my mind off work and work on these other tasks that I've been putting off. It's healthy for the mind, I guess. And yeah, if anyone's curious, it's not a speed bike. I'm not a speed demon. I don't take. No. I'm too afraid to go fast on the roads. I've picked up enough of bodies on the roads during my time in the fire brigade. Sometimes in one piece, sometimes in pieces. I'm good. Speed's not my thing. Just something practical. That's what I go for, practicality. But apparently a cruiser is the least practical bike that exists on the market. They're big, heavy, slow. They consume a lot of petrol. They're hard to maneuver because they're so heavy and wide. What's the point of getting a cruiser? I don't know. I just like the way it looks, and I'm having a good time. With it makes for good rehabilitation. Yeah. It's been nice. But that's half an hour of explaining what the hell happened this past few months, this past 7 months. There's so many things that I want to talk about, that I wanted to talk about not just about Japan last year, but, there are some things that happened this year, but considering I've been considering the RadioWis show has gone silent for 7 episodes or 7 months. Maybe I'll reserve this episode to just explain what has been happening. And I'll save these little stories for the next episodes, because then at least I'll have something to talk about. I'll probably make one at the end of this month as well. You know, I just wanted to get this episode out. In fact, I wanted to get it out when I started my break in earlier this month. I think it was like the first few days of July, but I was just not feeling it. For some reason, I just could not bring myself to sit in front of the microphone and start talking. But I feel better now, and I think that just reinforces how important it is for someone to take a break. And, you know, it's if you ever find yourself slowing down without explanation at whatever it is you're doing, you know, it might be time to have a change of pace just for a little bit. Don't make my mistake. Don't overwork yourself. Oh no! But there are still so many things that I want to do, that I wanted to do this year. God damn it. There's like a handful of chapters that I want to get out by the end of this year. There's still a handful of animations that I would like to create by the end of this year. There's the new merchandise store that I've been working on. But, you know, like I said in the YouTube partnership program video, I would like to hold back on announcing the merchandise store, because we just had a Lou plush campaign, sorry. And I don't want to bombard everybody with just merch drops every time. You know, I don't want the RadioWis brand to feel like it's nothing but merch drops. And so I'm holding back on that announcement till maybe August, maybe mid-August and August, I guess. I want to make a couple more animations, if not one more. Oh, sorry. Speaking of which, the YouTube partnership program. Yeah. If you notice, there aren't any ads on this podcast. I wanted to explain this in the video itself, but I felt like the video already was taking too long, and so I'm saving it for here. But despite putting ads on most of my videos now, there are certain videos that I won't put advertisements on. One of them being the RadioWis podcasts, because it kind of feels like the flow of these podcasts would be interrupted too drastically for me. Okay, let me say that again. I don't put ads on. I won't put ads on the RadioWis podcast because I feel it would be too disruptive for the flow of this, I guess, podcast. You know, it just doesn't feel right to put ads that will, especially mid-roll ads that just interrupt these podcasts every few minutes. I might change my mind later, but for now, that's how I feel. But maybe in exchange for not putting ads on my videos, maybe I'll do like, well, if anyone's willing to sponsor this video, maybe I'll do like ad reads, but really short ones. You know? Yeah. Maybe not ad reads, but what do they call those? Sponsorship drops? it's like sometimes podcasts, they like, they'll talk halfway and all of a sudden there's like a sponsor read. I guess it's a sponsor read, for lack of a better term. But yeah, the RadioWis episodes and certain videos on my channel won't have ads. If it's a serious announcement, I think it was the Patreon video, the video announcing my departure from Patreon. I do believe I did not put ads on that one because I felt that video was it covered a topic that I would like the message to be given uninterrupted, I guess. I'm still new to this. Despite being 7 months or 8 months into the partner program, I'm still figuring out my way around which videos I should and should not monetize, because at the end of the day, I want the experience to be enjoyable, and I understand that if you don't like ads, you probably already have an ad blocker, which is, by the way, against YouTube terms of service. But if you really don't want ads, you already have ad blockers. And so I shouldn't be worrying too much about this, or at least that's what I've heard. Not been told, but I've heard. God damn it, monetizing is hard. Ugh. I hope you don't mind, though. Yeah. What a time. What a time it is. There were, oh man, there were so many things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about going to the anime convention last year, Japan. I wanted to talk about, a friend of mine getting a vasectomy. Oh, man. And I went, oh, no, don't do that. And he went, shut up. My testicle, my choice. I'm like, you fucking cuck. You fucking cuck. You know how badly I want kids? And there you go, cutting off your testicles. You sort of, well, not really cutting. I think it was, he talked about like tying it up or something. There's like different procedures for men. Something about like there being a tie-up option for a male vasectomy. Oh, you fucking cook. One child is not enough. You need at least 5. God damn it. But yeah, I want to talk about that too, but maybe in the next episode. We're kind of like 40 minutes into this current episode, and I am trying to use this episode as a sort of, not testing ground, but like a little warm-up session for future episodes, because I want to get back into the rhythm of things for the RadioWis show. And I hope it's not been too many tangents. Yeah, too many tangents. I hope that's not the case for this episode, but I hope you enjoyed this episode nonetheless. But on that note, the reason why. No, let me say that again. I actually felt kind of lazy to even record today's episode because I've just not been doing it for so long. It started to feel like a foreign thing to create a RadioWis episode, which is a bad sign, first of all. But more importantly, what kicked me in the ass and really got my gears grinding to make this episode was the amount of frustration and how upset I was when I opened up Twitter today. And what I mean is, all right, let me preface this. I don't wish for my channel to be political So my criticisms of what I'm about to talk next is nothing political, but more so regarding the integrity of a human being. And, some of you might already guess what I'm going to be talking about. But when this episode was being recorded, it's the 14th of July, at least for me. But earlier this morning, how do you address this? The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, had an assassination attempt made on him. And what was frustrating to me was the amount of people who revealed themselves for who they really were and then immediately started to backtrack. There were a lot of shit going around on my Twitter feed today, and for me, honestly speaking, it's always a mistake for me to open up Twitter whenever I start the internet, but but unfortunately for today, when I did, I just realized how many people that were in my feed, either through a follow either through people that I follow or through mutuals or people that they retweeted, and I got really frustrated because what happened was the former president had 4 shots fired at him. I think it was 4 shots. And all of them missed except one bullet that nicked his right ear. The remainder of the shots, unfortunately, hit one of his supporters sitting in the background. And, it was a really terrible thing that happened, because I do believe what happened was 2 got seriously wounded. 1 was shot in the head. One of the Trump supporters got shot in the head, which is a terrible, horrible thing to happen, especially to a bystander who just happened to be there to show their support for their favorite political figure. And you can have whatever opinions you want to have about whatever political figure that you want to support or hate. I have my own political opinions too, but that's not the point. The point was there were a lot of people making jokes about what happened, and that, to me, that's fine, because dark humor has a time and place, and that time and place is normally the internet right after a tragedy happens. Whatever. You can make jokes. Jokes are fine. It happens irregardless of whether you want it or not, but it's not a joke when you take glee and celebrate that there was an assassination attempt in the first place. It is not a joke when you are disappointed that the shooter missed. It is not a joke when you are upset that the person that was trying to be, that the victim of the attempted assassination survived. And it is not a joke to belittle and berate the innocent bystanders who caught the bullet instead. These are not jokes. These are, if anything, a revelation. What you're doing is you're not making jokes. You're revealing to everybody who you really are. And that's not the frustrating part for me. For me, what was frustrating was not them showing their true colors. These content creators, these what do you call it? These VTubers and YouTubers and what have you, these people with influence, what was frustrating was not the honesty that they displayed, but the cowardice that occurred immediately after. You know, because immediately after sharing their honest opinions, they backtrack and, you know, they start spouting the usual keywords. You know, I'm just joking. It's just a joke. Can't take a joke. I took down my tweet because it was in bad taste. I have educated myself or re-educated myself. You know, the usual keywords when you're caught doing something you're not supposed to be, or rather, you're caught doing something you thought other people would support you by, but you realize that you're just a piece of shit. And it's really frustrating. The whole point of me sharing this is because it was really upsetting and frustrating for me to realize that not a lot of people, that's an over-exaggeration, but there was more of this shitty behavior than I was willing to tolerate on Twitter. And some of these people I had thought to, you know, some of them created great content. But it doesn't excuse you from being a piece of shit. What a fucking waste of a human being these people turn out to be. I'm sorry, it's just so frustrating for me because the lack of integrity being portrayed was just so upsetting to me because I know what it's like to be like them. Bullies is what they were. Bullies, and at the first sign of getting in trouble, as a result of your actions, you crumble. I know what that's like, and it pisses me off so much because I used to be like that. You know, and it's infuriating to have to no, not to have to. It's just infuriating to witness the cowardice behind some of these loud, empty vessels, I guess, for lack of a better term. Because God knows I'm terrified of ending up like that again. You know, it's really unfortunate that some of these people lack the basic human decency and a moral compass to not take glee at a tragedy. And I thought it was a problem with myself because one of the first things I thought to myself was, how did I surround myself with people of this caliber? Well, I mean, not literally surround myself, but, you know, they happen to be on my feed. And I went, well, Jesus, what is going on? How did this happen? How have I put myself in the trash? What happened? Am I faltering as a human being myself? God damn it. But, you know, it's really unfortunate, the state of some of these people on the internet. How disgusting some of them turned out to be. It really does. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Basically, the point I was trying to make is, once again, don't make my mistake. If you found yourself surrounded by people who are of this caliber, if you find yourself admiring or supporting people who would take joy and glee in the tragedy of others, who would get upset that an assassination attempt failed, especially if the target of that assassination was somebody that they disagreed with. Maybe it's time to do a little introspection. Maybe it's time to do a little self-reflection. Or maybe it's just time to, if you have the common sense like many people do, you just don't support them anymore, or you don't give them the time of day with your newfound knowledge. Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on another tangent, but what's even more frustrating is reading the comments sometimes, and then just people going, yeah, it's just a joke, it's just a joke, you wanted him dead, but but everybody called you out for it, but it's just a joke. I don't see the problem. Are you fucking blind? If you really cared about your favorite content creator, you would want them to take accountability for what they said instead of just helping them brush it under the carpet, under the rug when they got called out for it. You want them to be the best version of themselves. And by doing that, in order to do that, you got to tell them what they need to hear, which most people do. But Jesus Christ, some of the comments, they're like, yeah, you're right. He should have aimed a little better. Whoa. It's like, I got no remorse for the guy that took a stray at the back because he was, it serves him right for supporting somebody I disagreed with. Whoa. Really? Oh my God. Even I'm not from America. Okay, I have no place to speak on your politics, but even I know that this is just inhumane. You gotta stop, son. Like, and these content creators too, god damn, they start backtracking faster than dropping a hot brick. God damn it. Like, their sudden change of attitude. Jesus Christ, the cowardice that it reflects. Oh my God. It's too reminiscent. It reminds me of myself. It's so upsetting and infuriating to watch. My God. It's infuriating because they're not apologizing because they have now newfound wisdom of making a mistake. No. Don't fall for it. They're apologizing because they got caught doing the one biggest sin they never should have done, and that was revealing their true face. They dropped the mask for a second, and you saw them for who they were. That was the mistake, not sharing their opinions. That wasn't the mistake. God damn it, dude. I'm terrified of ending up like these people because God only knows I have been like that in the past. And so it just got me so riled up. Like what? No, now that's an over exaggeration. It didn't get me riled up, but it got me, just reconsidering the people I follow on Twitter. Maybe it's better if I just unfollowed everybody. God damn it, dude. What a fucking way to ruin your day. Just having to witness the fucking, what was it the kids call it nowadays? Brain rot? It's fucking insane. Jesus. Anyway. Once again, it's not about anything political. It's just the lack of human decency and integrity that's being displayed. That's what irks me, because there are a lot of things that I do not like. And near the top of that list are people who willingly lack integrity and a moral compass. It's just it's such a poor display of what you could be. I try I try my best. It's a standard that I set for myself, but I try my best to be the best version of myself for the people around me who deserve that version of myself. And so it's almost insulting to see people just taking glee in being the worst version of themselves and not realizing how destructive it is. Not only to the people around them, but themselves. And then only to for their spines to crumble when told to stand up for those opinions. God damn it, son. Hold me to a greater standard, Chad. Whoever's listening, all right? It doesn't matter what the fuck your political opinions are. I hope that all of us can at least practice a basic level of human decency to respect the people who lose their lives. God damn it, son. I think the point I wanted to make at the end of the day was, if you find yourself surrounded, or if you find yourself, if you find yourself accompanied or surrounded or admiring people of this caliber, you might want to do some introspection, and you might want to start reconsidering who you surround yourself with, because it's people like these who, unironically, would rather your brains get blown out than listen to your opinion if it differs from what they believe. I hope I'm exaggerating, but god damn, it feels that way. And so, just to, there was this, credit where credit's due. There was this VTuber that I follow, Kersha. Kersha said in one of her replies to somebody who revealed themselves for who they were, it's when they tell you who they are, believe them. I hope I'm quoting it right, but maybe not. But Jesus. God damn it, son. We're watching history being made, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, moral of the story, don't be a shitty person. Be the best version of yourself so that you don't destroy the people around you and or yourselves. Be a good example. You got so much good that you can contribute to the world. Why be the shit that stinks it up? Don't be a dick. All right. Before the RadioWis show ends up being political, which is not what I intended it to do. I just want to be able to. It's supposed to be a monthly diary where I record or talk about things that occurred in the month. Maybe one day I'll tell you why I started the RadioWis show in the first place. That would be another episode, wouldn't it? God damn. Well, can't wait for that one. Anyway, I'm going to call it an episode. It's almost an hour. I hope I did not take too long of your time, but thank you for listening to me. Be a good person as I try to be the best version of myself too. The people who we love, the people who love us, they deserve that version of ourselves. So do we. We deserve to be the best version of ourselves too. Take care, everybody. See you in the next episode.